Okay, I guess I'm live now. Can I get some comments, please, and let me know if you're actually able to see my screen? Om Lokaha Samastaha Suki no Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Phoenix here. Welcome to my channel. We're mixing it up here, and I'm actually going live at the request of many viewers. Interesting time, isn't it? There's so much going on right now in the markets. I'm going to break down a number of charts today. Can you all see me? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Well, anyways, so here we are. Let's take a look, and we'll start with the S&P 500. What is going on with crypto today? It looks like we're about to maybe put in some new lows here. So interesting timing for all of this. Okay. Wow, it's actually a little bit delayed. That's interesting. I chose a lower latency. Let's see. Let's just give it a shot and see how it works out. Hopefully you all can see this okay. As far as the, you know what, S&P doesn't really matter so much today because we haven't really seen the breakdown. Let's just start out with Bitcoin. And I'm actually going to start with a fresh chart because streams content is lower than the recommended bit rate. Okay. I don't know what that, oh, okay. Oh, there's someone. Okay. Okay, so we actually are streaming, so that's good. That's a start, right? And something is going right so far today. I had some long positions open earlier. I had to cut them short. May all beings be happy. Okay, yeah, so I have people watching now. This is a big step for me, believe it or not. I'm not used to this. I'm used to just shooting the video and then going back and editing. Hopefully this will make it easier for me and also make it more pertinent for those of you that are paying attention, because sometimes I have to rush to get the videos out just while the price sort of stays in one place, which it hasn't been doing at all today. What's going on with Bitcoin? Are we going to put in new lows today? Well, we just came really close here. Actually wicked down to it. Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? So let's take a look on the monthly and see. Doesn't look very good, does it here? Looks actually like it wants to drop a lot further back through this thin liquidity here down to the 12-13K region here. I'm just drawing some monthly levels that we may refer to. And then we're going to drop down to the weekly time frame and see where we're at. We saw a doji yesterday. Let's actually get these levels right here. I'm going to mark the high and low here, and I'm going to mark the weekly open here. Okay, and we're going to change the color on that. We're going to take a look and see what we've got. We'll drop down to the lower time frames here in a moment. But as you can see, this is how I'm doing my top-down analysis. Now you can see on the daily chart, that's pretty much confirming this range because, as always, price is fractal. And we're just now dropping beneath this on the daily. But does that mean that we should go short right away? No, and I'm not. I'm not going to short here because we have this level here on the daily holding as potential support. So this is a much larger range. I need to get off my magnet here. This, we could call this a value area here, okay? So until we see a significant breakdown beneath this area, maybe it breaks down, maybe we get a break and retest and failed retest, and then it breaks down further from there. If that happens, then it's a major short trigger for me down to 12K, okay? But this could be, I'm a little bit skeptical, especially when you see a big move down, which is what we saw on Sunday. That happened actually, I think it was last Sunday as well. And it's very near these lows here. It looks like it just ran the stops and now we're headed back up again. Let's drop down to the 1H and see Sorry, I have to sneeze here. Can't control that during a live, right? So big wick down here on the 1H. Let's take a look and see. I'm doing this live, so I'm going to take a look at the delta here because I want to see if there's a lot of sell orders coming in to see if this is significant. So bear with me here. Actually, looks like we have any trap shorts here. Nope. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so there's a wick here. Looks like it might be pushing back up into this range. So if we get some strength here, we get a big, strong push back into this range, then we might see another push back up to the weekly open. And then from there, if it can hold above, then that would be absolutely a long trigger. But I'm actually paying close attention to this level right here. But then if we drop down to even lower time frames here, let's take a look at the 30-minute. You can see that this is clearly a range here between this weekly open and between 15,900-ish. Okay, so I'm actually gonna change the color on this just so that I don't confuse myself. Let's make that yellow. And we'll also make the weekly open a different color here from my monthly and weekly levels. I like to delineate that way so that, okay, let's make it green. Okay, so now we have something to work with here. Would I short here? No, because we just saw a big move down. The risk reward doesn't make sense, especially when you consider that this is a larger range that we're looking at. Do I think there's going to be more downside? Do I have a bearish bias? Absolutely, but not here. It's not, this isn't the place for me to enter. Okay, so if we take a look on the weekly and we see the EMAs still sharply sloping down here, okay, maybe it runs back up to about 18,800. That would be the 12 EMA. That's kind of par for the course right now. Big, strong weekly red candle. And usually what happens after that, okay, we had a doji, so not a lot of strength, but maybe pushes back up at least to the mid-level. Okay, and then you can see this is the bottom of a range here on the weekly at around 18,400, potentially rejects there. So I'm looking actually for longs here to see, and starting maybe on a scalping basis, and then seeing if I can get a good positional, take a good position here that brings us up higher. So if we can come back up, let's see if what happens here if it retests at 15,900. If it breaks down from here, then potentially a short back down to 15,600. But if it comes back above and shows a little bit of strength, and then we want to be taking a long up to here. This is for me personally, not financial advice. I'd be longing probably up to the weekly open. That would be first take profit. And then from there, if it continues, then we're looking at the bottom of this range here. So we're looking at around 16,500 would be the second take profit level. Okay. And that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Okay. So real quick now, let's dive into Ethereum and see. So I had some levels already drawn here for Ethereum. Now, this is the phase in the bear market where you have to go back a lot further to see. It's kind of weird watching this because there is a little bit of a lag here. Yeah, so there is a little bit of a lag, but it's okay. No big deal. So on the weekly, Ethereum, okay, again, still bearish, right? Came big leg down, sort of a consolidation here, but on the precipice. But if it could pull another range here for quite some time. We don't really know yet. We need to see more upside with the Dixie and more downside with the stock market, in my humble opinion, in order for there to be a really strong move down to 12K for Bitcoin. And we're not seeing that just yet, although the Dixie is finding support, which would make sense. It's finding support at this level here. And let's take a look on the daily chart. Still in a strong uptrend. And definitely this is a bottom formation here. But then there could potentially be resistance back up at 110. But in the meantime, if it pushes up to 110, then that could put more bearish pressure on cryptocurrency, more so than the stock market. The stock market is sort of hovering here, and it's not, there's no market structure break here on the way back up again. And if we're looking for levels of resistance, the next level we'd be looking at, I'd probably be wanting to take a short on ES at around 41.60, which I'm not currently in the stock market or futures, but if it can push up to there, but it's not showing, you see the momentum candles on the weekly, it's not showing that it wants to really break down just yet. It was a little toppy for a while there, and it did actually break below this range here. And I thought, okay, so it came up, retested, looked like it was breaking down, but now it looks like it wants to get back into the range. And if that happens, usually we move back up near the top of the range. Okay, so this was tricky because looked like a breakdown after a big move up, triple tap, breakdown, retest, but it hasn't really broken down with momentum today, even though the Dixie is up today, and it's more up than it has been in quite some time. So we're kind of waiting for the stock market to make up its mind, but it could continue to rally into the new year, in which case Bitcoin and Ethereum are more likely to recover. Ethereum is struggling to hold 1100 here. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've shorted this and gotten out because it didn't make the move yet. And then finally it makes the move on Sunday, which is just the way it goes. You know, it is what it is, but it's creating, we're creating new levels here. And so Ethereum's most recent low, it's sitting at it right now. And I like to draw it actually at the bottom of the candle bodies here, as opposed to the wicks, as some others tend to do. And of course, I give some leeway for if it drops down lower. But the thing that we need to really pay attention to is we need to zoom out here and see what happened over here in these levels that we're working with on the daily and the weekly. And here's a level here. Here's another level here, okay? And so we're in the middle. We're actually in the middle of this range here. So if it breaks down from here, it's so frustrating when you have to do this, when you have to go so far back in the chart that you can't even see what's going on anymore. So if it breaks down from here, then shorting it down to 1,000 makes sense. If it fails to break down from here, then we've got a lot more potential upside. So I'm less keen to be shorting this because of what's happening with stocks and with the Dixie, which again, it's not always correlated, but I do pay attention to it. But I'd be more, oh, that's why I need to turn that on and that off. Okay, so I'm more prone to take a long here, and most likely, if it can break back into this range here, then it's most likely coming back to, at the very least, test 1144. Okay, so looking for a trigger here, looking for some sort of a bottoming formation, and I took a long, it was premature here. I had to cut it a little early, but it is looking like there is some support coming in here. And so everyone, this is the obvious move, right? What's the obvious move? It's to short. It's to short Bitcoin. It's to short Ethereum. It's to short everything. And that's why we're probably going to see a vicious rally to the upside, because they're going to squeeze out the shorts here before making that final move down. Usually that move, it can't be so obvious, right? I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it just sits there, it consolidates for a bit, and then makes another leg down. And so if we see that it's still showing weakness here and it can't even make it back up to 1110, well then obviously it's most likely going to head back down to 1,000. But what I'm seeing right now is that it's trying to put in some sort of a bottom here, and it's not the prettiest bottom, but if it comes back up and shows strength here, probably coming back to 1144, first take profit, okay, second take profit, maybe, and then looking at the weekly open around 1197, okay, and these are more like scalp, these are scalps, they're not, you know, positional. I'm not taking positional longs here because first of all, I don't feel comfortable holding on to a long for more than a few hours, let alone overnight. Whereas with a short, if I'd have done that this weekend, if I'd have held on to some of those shorts I had, you can kind of just wait, and eventually the momentum, the gravity just brings you down. But again, you have to pay attention to all of this larger range. And so far, if we take a look on the 4H and we just look at the 12 and the 21, it's actually we've been in a downtrend, but the downtrend is weakening here. So it is showing signs of weakening. And this is, again, it's hitting this level, which also happens to be, I believe this is a demand zone for Ethereum. So it's so hard to tell because you've got to go back so far here. But yeah, this is a demand zone. Okay, so I would actually narrow it to this region here. Okay, and we want to extend it all the way. Oh no, that's not working. Okay, so maybe I should do this on the daily. That's okay. So, wow, that goes back pretty far, huh? Where am I? I'm lost in space. At any rate, we are, okay, here we are. So this is the demand zone here for Ethereum. I'm not going to be shorting this. I don't want to short this. It doesn't make sense to short here. So that's what I'm looking at. Matic has been falling like a lot, and it's not really stopping. It's not really showing signs of slowing down. I want to start with a fresh chart because let's start on the monthly and see. Let's see what we can see. What levels have not been tapped yet? Okay, so headed back up again. We've been in this range for quite some time now. So these are some levels that have not been tapped yet from last month. And let's actually drop down to the daily and see. We're basically we're headed near the lower quadrant, lower half of this range here, okay, for Matic. And I just want to throw this up here. It's not looking good for Matic. This was one giant deviation here above this range and then got back inside. It's been dropping down, and every time, look, it retested here resistance, drop down below, okay? Drop down below the mid-level. So this is a no trade zone for me because it's not near any of these levels here. But if you were looking for, you can see that there is potential support here on the 4H. But Ethereum definitely needs to hold for Matic to hold. Oh, hey, there's a lot more people now. Guys, comment on something that is like helpful. If you have a question, if you want to know about something, if you want to hear about a chart, okay? So Matic probably headed lower, but I'm not going to short here, okay? Because look at what we've seen. Look at the momentum. Yes, it's got a lot of momentum moving down, but choppy as hell. Okay, this has been really tough to trade for anyone, myself included. Probably 50-50 in trades ever since this happened here for Matic. So I'm not going to short this. I'm not going to long it either. Maybe if it comes back up to 85 and then it can start to make some headway there, then I'd consider a long back up to 97. But when you see a big move like this, and it's not a huge move, but Ethereum's down almost 4% today. When you see a big move like this, then for me, I shift all of my attention, Doge, okay. I shift all of my attention to Ethereum and Bitcoin because I want to see, obviously the alts are going to react to ETH more so than any other coin, okay? So if Ethereum holds here, then most likely a lot of these altcoins are going to rally. Okay. But so far, these are pretty ominous candles on the daily. So we don't have any signs yet that this is going to relent. We don't have any signs. It's not there yet. But there is, here's our sign on the hour. Okay, so there's a little bit of support coming in, but taking a look at the delta, it's still very much negative. It's still coming down. Yeah, it's not showing that it wants to let up yet. So let's take a look at Dogecoin now and see, because somebody keeps asking me. I need to somehow put a timeout on this thing or get somebody to moderate it. This is my first live, guys, so go easy on me. I'm trying to manage it, figure out the whole flow to it. Maybe I can turn on the slow mode. How do I do that? There's nothing really happening with Dogecoin. I don't understand why you guys are so obsessed with this. I like Elon Musk just as much as everybody else. And that's one of the reasons that I hesitate sometimes shorting Dogecoin, because he can definitely pump it, as we've seen. I'm going to start with a clean chart because I don't really know what I'm looking at yet. Yeah, that's okay. So we've got, what do we have here? What are we looking at? That just looks horrendous. This is not an easy one to trade. Look at where we're broken down from. Retested, breakdown. Okay, now we're in another range on the daily. Some deviations. We're at the bottom of the range for Doge. Okay, so let's see. Let's drop down a little bit further here and take a look and see. It's been weak, right? It's been weak, but it's at the bottom of the range. Let's see if we get a reaction here. And if it starts to show, this could be a deviation, a slight deviation outside the range. If it starts to show some strength here, then I might consider a long position. But I would be waiting to see if we see Ethereum start to perk up a little bit first, and then I would consider a long, and I'd be looking for, let's actually take a look at the mid-level here, because there's probably some confluence there with some support resistance there. Yeah, there is. Okay, so Dogecoin, is too soon to tell, but it looks like it might find some support here. Ethereum definitely needs to hold above 1100 for me to even consider a long on Dogecoin. That's for sure. So it breaks back into the channel here. Take profit, number one, and then we've got number two right here. Okay. And then from there, I'd have to reassess. If it can break above and show some strength, then maybe consider getting back in. But this is definitely a supply zone here. So there's likely going to be resistance here if it can push back up again. But Dogecoin has been weak for the last, I don't know how many weeks now, since that big push up. Yeah, it could find support here. I mean, this is a logical place for it to find some support. So I wouldn't fade Dogecoin here personally. All right, so what else we got? Kindness and reciprocity of Doge. What is Doge FF? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Grayscale sell-off. Not really. I don't. Didn't it just bottom? Isn't it up today? Let's see if we can pull up. Where do I find the Grayscale BTC? Oh, it's using Mix Global. Okay, all sources. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It came all the way down to what, 750? You know, I used to buy and sell GBTC and Ethereum as well, and I realized it doesn't always correlate very well. And as we've seen here, but it's actually bottoming right now. So I mean, you could take that as a positive sign, but I just find it all too confusing, and it's not always indicative of the larger market sentiment. It's like sort of like a small subset. Um, I mean, the stock investors are going to have a whole different mindset than crypto investors. So, and actually, it's been going up as Bitcoin has been going down the last few hours. So, I wouldn't really give it too much weight here. We have to really just focus on the charts, the crypto charts, more than anything else. So, what else? I don't know what Doge GF. What are you guys talking about? I have no idea. I feel like I'm maybe an older generation here or something. But um, there were some others. There was one other that I wanted to look at. It was Atom, and let's just see. Ugh, okay. I'm gonna draw some levels here, and we'll see if we. Atom does not look good on the weekly or on the monthly, but there is some. We do have a range on the weekly that we did break down below. Let's just call it here and here. And then if I drop down to the daily, this will make more sense. This was the neckline of this double top here, and it came down, retested, broke down below again, and then sort of hovered around this level here and then broke down from here. So it looks like it wants to head all the way back down again. But there are going to be a lot of pauses along the way. You have these various levels here, these little support ledges on the way up. Let's make sure that's straight. And so again, not looking to short Atom here. I was actually trying to short it from up around $10, and I missed the timing on that one as well. So but I will be looking to see. Let's see if it's going to bounce back here. Maybe it might, but this could be the initiation of a larger downtrend, in which case I'd be looking for. I want to see how these interact when they come back to the EMAs. So for me, it's the 12 and the 21. Notice how it's been obeying this as resistance all the way down. It hasn't really gotten above. It's wicked above the 21 a few times. So if it comes back up, I'm not going to try and long it and take profit up here. I'm not even going to attempt that. I want to see the first thing that Atom needs to do, and many of these other altcoins, they need to break above the EMAs and with some strength, and not just wick above a few times, because if they're just coming up and wicking here, then it's definitely a short trigger. Oh, I need to kick these people out. I don't know what you guys are doing here. I don't even know any of you. But I'm trying to make this stream for those of you that are actually real traders that care about this stuff. I don't know what Doge GF is. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But my viewers know better than to just to jump into some random meme coin, especially in the heart of a bear market. So we're definitely not going to do that. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, goodbye. Okay. That's good. I'm learning how to boot people from this. God, how is it? I don't know. I think I have like 20 viewers right now. How am I getting so many comments so quickly? It's hard enough when you're reading charts and you're doing this, you're public as a crypto influencer. It's hard enough, guys, for me to deal with scams. I get DMs every day on Twitter from just so much random BS that it's hard for me to actually sort through and filter out, and the people who are actually, yeah, they're bots. Okay. How do I get rid of them? Oh man, it's just It's like they move so fast that how do I put slow mode on? That's what I want. I need to put slow mode on. Can I do that? Yeah, that sucks. Okay, so wow, just another day in the crypto sphere, just another day in the bear market. I'm just gonna keep moving on and ignore the chat. It's too bad, guys, because yeah, how do I slow mo them? Somebody, how do I slow mo? See, what happens is they're moving so fast through the chat that I can't even stop it to. There's got to be a way to do this. I mean, come on, YouTube, really? Slow mode it. They're just like endlessly multiplying. Hide user on this channel. Where is the slow mode on this? Oh, no, this is a real person. Okay, goodbye. Yeah, anyways, sorry guys, I can't really pay attention to the comments right now. I'm gonna have to look up how to put on slow mode a little bit later on. But so we've covered Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Matic and Atom. So don't really see any trades for Atom right now. I'm more reluctant to go in on any of these alts during this move down until we start to see real support for Ethereum and Bitcoin. It seems that this could be a premature drop down from here. It's hard to say. Wow, it's really interesting because I'm used to it's a good test of your focus with this live stream thing because I want to give uh, attention where it's needed or wanted, but I also need to focus on the charts. So I think a lot of retailers are going to go short here, and it's going to be premature, and we're probably going to see another big uh, move up here. We haven't seen the violent reaction yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming, and it actually could come while this stream is taking place. So it's come down once, twice, and you've got to look to the left. You've always got to look to the left, and not just the immediate left, but you got to go even further to the left and see. Notice this was okay. Resistance flipped into still resistance here, flipped into support here. Okay, support here, support here. Okay, now will it be support here? It could be. So we'll see. Solana is another one that's been really curious to me because it's just been so weak since everything with SBF. But we have a range that's actually cleaner than pretty much every other chart out there right now on the daily, and we just broke below that range. And it appears that it may come back and retest if Solana. So this is one of interest to me. If it can break back above, which I think it could, if it breaks back inside, then what's to stop it from coming all the way back up to 18 level here? Not much, in my humble opinion, because this is a demand zone. Now, of course, the more a demand zone is tapped, the less strength it has. The longer it sits here, the more strength the bulls will have because we see a bearish sort of rectangle starting to form. But look at this on the week 3-day, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 days straight red candles on the 3-day. Okay, so is the higher probability move up or down for Solana? If Ethereum holds 1100, it's up for Solana. And this is where you can kind of get, for me, where I can actually do the best trading alts under these circumstances, but it's obviously always going to be riskier. But when you see Ethereum start to hold this 1100 level, and then you see Solana give you some confirmation and it breaks back into inside this channel here. Okay, this is a pretty good setup, because as we've seen, when we get the deviations, it gets back inside. 8 times out of 10, it's going to run all the way back up at or near the top and maybe even break through this level here. So if we get a vicious bear market rally here, Solana is going to rage, because Solana has really dropped down over the last few weeks. I mean, it's been an exaggerated move. And as we know, anytime we see an exaggerated move, it's most likely there's going to be some sort of an automatic reaction. And so in this case, we see it down 64%. I mean, can you imagine? Just a few weeks ago, could you imagine Solana would drop down 64% in 3 weeks? I certainly couldn't. But then you see the deceleration, and if we look, we're way far away from the 50. And so here we could see a move back up at the very minimum to 18. So that would be considerable long opportunity, in my humble opinion. Now, I think that Link is actually doing something similar right now. Link is also at the bottom of this range here and could very easily come back inside. And this isn't, you know, to me, if it holds here, then what's the obvious play? It's not to short it, right? It's to long it. It holds, maybe it hovers here for a day or two, but then eventually you've got take profit 1 and then you've got take profit 2. Okay. And so and Link is another one that's been down a lot more. I don't have the full history of Link. I'm not sure if it's actually if this is the ultimate low for Link or not. I don't know if that's the case, but oh, cool. Okay, so now it's showing that I can delete messages. So Link is another potential long setup, and I actually can read the tape on this one on XO charts. I like to use XO charts. I've been really learning the ins and outs of it. It's not always reliable, because a lot of times like limit orders will come in and you can't see the limit orders. You can see the market orders. And so it doesn't give you the full picture, but sometimes it can give some confluence. So if we start to see like a big, let's actually take a look and see what's going on with Link. Where is Link? We have it on Binance. So I'm looking at the order flow, and I'm looking at the distinction between the buys and the sells. With the buys are on the right, the sells are on the left here, and then delta is basically the difference between them. And so right now we're seeing actually some longs coming in, entering the market here, and you see that the CVD, the cumulative delta, is starting to increase, and so that's supporting that move back up again into the channel. And so if it continues with this sort of strength, then that would be basis for a potential long for Link. Okay. And now Ethereum is in fact coming back up. It just retested the bottom of this range here. So yeah, I'm still leaning toward short-term bullish. I don't want to say bullish, but short-term bounce for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and let's see if I can find some meaningful. And they're back. Okay. Well, it's easy enough to get through. It's easy enough to get through these comments because it's all these hearts. So if you have any questions, please feel free here. Peasant. Someone's calling me a peasant. How do I? Okay, let's get rid of you. It's funny, you can't actually boot them from the channel. You can only hide them from the channel, which doesn't really make sense to me. What language is your intro? Okay, so that's a Sanskrit mantra. It goes back thousands of years, It sort of predates religion. Sanskrit is like the mother tongue. It's pretty much every language stems from it. And it was said to be introduced by the Celestials. And so it is like a prayer, but it's more of a mantra that has power because of the fact that it's been repeated for so many millennia. So it's a Sanskrit language. And there's actually many chants that I practice on a daily basis that help me with my mental clarity. So when you just utter, like you notice the vibration of the mantra because you feel it in your body and you feel it when you express it. And so this is actually something that is like many would consider more esoteric, but it's actually just common. It was common knowledge hundreds or thousands of years ago, where they have a certain vibratory essence because of the fact that because of the intention behind the language. Like the Sanskrit language actually has no swear words in it. But it has over 1,000 names for God, and so it's a sacred tongue. It's like a liturgical language. And so the intention actually carries through the vibration of the language. So Sanskrit is something that I try to incorporate into my life, and that's also why I included it at the beginning of my videos. And I also have studied under great masters, and one in particular always used this mantra. So it's kind of my way of honoring the masters. So Sanskrit is from India. It's from the Far East. So it's but it's used, like in Buddhism uses Sanskrit among other languages, but it's used in Hinduism. So the religions will use the language, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to that religion. It's not a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's just wishing people well, which, how do we express that in English? Hope you have a great day, something like that, but we're doing it with more intention, and it's not just sort of like an automatic reaction. How long have you been trading? It's been maybe 4 or 5 years now that I've been actively trading, but I've definitely put a lot of time in. And so I feel like I've progressed a lot quicker than many other traders who have only been trading for a few years, because I've put a lot of time and energy into it. It's not like a casual hobby for me. It's like my lifeblood. So that's why I've really put a lot more into it. Quant, okay. So now I'm actually getting the normal comments here. Yeah, ETH touching 1107 now. So yeah, you're welcome to join my group. I'm opening it up during the bear market. I you know it is helpful just for the group and the community to, if you do join Mexi using with my referral link, and it does help me somewhat, but it helps in that I can create challenges, like trading challenges, where we can actually win substantial rewards. But my whole intention is really just to help other people profit, and hopefully, these last week or so, I would say I'm at break even the last week. Like I was doing good to start, but then I had, a series of trades I had to just cut short, and then it sort of adds up over time. So I'm sort of at break even this week, but I had a really good week when the whole FTX thing crumbled, and one of the best weeks I've had, probably the best couple of days I've had in the bear market. So, but I'm trying, I try to be as consistent as possible with my trading. And now that, well, I won't get into that, but so yeah, I mean, if you want, follow the instructions in the description, because there is a link, there's a tweet thread, and it explains it if you want to join. And there are more and more people joining each day. It's nice to have community. And especially right now, that's the thing. I don't care about selling memberships right now. And that's also why I'm selling my course for dirt cheap. It really is dirt cheap. It's $36. I mean, if you don't have $36, you shouldn't be trading. That's just that's it. $36. I'm trying to give as much value as I can. And, I'm going to be honest, like it's hard to show up during these times. It's really hard. And like a lot of my friends, a lot of other influencers, they're just like, forget it, not doing it. And I'm like, I get it. Today I wasn't feeling too good coming into the morning, and the market's just crap, but just you just got to keep showing up. That's it. How long does it take to learn TA? It it depends. It depends on how, and to survive the shakes. Yeah. It depends on how dedicated you are. And it, like, most people aren't suited for trading because they don't have the emotional temperament. But if you really want to be a trader, then you have to be willing to show up on bad days. You have to be willing to take losses in stride. You have to be willing to want to even change your emotional temperament to be able to calm your mind and control your emotions. You have to be wanting to do that. You have to make a conscious, deliberate effort to do that. That's actually more important starting out than learning TA. But the TA is obviously, it's of equal importance, but there's a lot of different courses out there. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of different content creators. There's a lot of channels that will teach you trading. Like one that I actually really like, and I like his style and I like his demeanor. He's actually a lot like me in certain ways. 𝐬𝐨𝐧. It's like society, but 𝐬𝐨𝐧. It's a good channel, and he teaches a lot of useful information. I've actually paid for his courses just to support him and learned a thing or two in that. So I put his channel in the comments there. Check him out because he's very similar to my style, and it's all pure price action. So you pick things up here and there, right? And some days I'll watch videos and be like, what the hell was that? What was that? I don't even understand the first thing that guy said. I don't want to use any of the indicators that he's using. And then you just scratch it. Or maybe you try to push through and you see if you can learn something from them. Um, yeah, you don't have to pay anything to join my Discord. Like I'm not asking anybody to pay. I'm just saying, hey, if you want to support me, here's how you can do it. And $36 is not much for me. I mean, it's, of course, anything helps, but I'm just saying, hey, if you want to join and you're sincere and you're not just going to try to spam my Discord, then I'll let you join. But this is not going to be around forever or if it is, then I'm going to need to have other people supporting me in this, because right now it's pretty much, I'm just a one-man show. Like I don't have any mods in the group yet, which I'm sure that will come when there's a real necessity for it. But so let's see. How long did it take to become profitable consistently? I was profitable off the bat, but it just depends on, like, a lot of people will say, I know like Peter Brandt and some of the other traders, the old timers, they're like, you're going to blow up at least 2 or 3 accounts before you're profitable. I don't want to subscribe to that way of thinking. And I don't think that you should either. I don't think that it's good to assume that you're just automatically going to be profitable right away. But I think that if you've got to think of it in terms of, you're going up against other minds. You're going up against other traders with their own set of ideas. And so if you want to have an edge over them, then you need to figure out a way to outsmart them, the majority of them. Not all of them, because you're not going to be able to outsmart all of them, but the majority of them. And so you need to do the things that the majority of traders just aren't doing. And the majority of traders aren't doing their due diligence. They're not studying enough. It's like being in school. If you want to be an A student, you've got to put in the work, right? Like A students are very different than C students because they're actually putting in more effort. And really what it comes down to 9 times out of 10, it's not your level of intelligence. It's the systems that you find traders that you really resonate with, and you know, something that you're like, I can understand this. This is something that I can wrap my head around. This feels good for me. It's not, you know, like for me, there's certain traders that just have these crazy funky indicators that just make no sense to me. Even though I kind of understand what they're saying, they're relying on these indicators and it's just not my thing. I would rather try to read the candles more than anything, because the candles are what most people are paying attention to. And so, you know, you've got to be willing to study, to put in the time, to put in the effort, and you've got to be smart about it, and you've got to treat it like it's a profession. And so, like, if you only have $100, then you shouldn't be putting $100 into your trades. You should be using proper risk management and maybe only risking a 0.5%. Most of my trades, I risk a 0.5% of my total trading funds per trade. That's it. Like 0.5% to 1%. And that can add up, especially if you have 3 trades going, it's 1.5%. Because you don't want to suffer such huge losses on a trade that it just devastates you and you blow up your account. I actually did that on my DGen account. I had a $500 account. I cut it in half in like a week because I wasn't using proper risk management. And here on my other account, it was going up because I was. And so it's interesting how that works, right? Because a lot of people, they'll go in, they'll immediately start using really high leverage. They won't put, they don't learn the fundamentals. And I'll teach you in the course. It's in the course. And there's a spreadsheet you can use that I use every single day that will show you this is the position sizing that you want to have if you want to risk this much. And this is if you have this stop loss, this percentage stop loss. And that's actually free if you go through my tweets. Actually, some of my videos, I've linked to it as well. But so things like that, just like if you can find a little bit of alpha, a gem here and there, something that really helps you. You know, sometimes like I'll watch 3 videos in a day from 3 different courses because I'm still expanding, I'm still learning, and I'll find, okay, one thing just really clicked for me. And I spent 3 hours watching videos, and one of the things that they said really clicked for me, and it helped me to form a more coherent thesis about with my own trading. And so it solidified, and you don't always see the results right away, just like working out, you know, or running consistently or whatever, meditation. You don't see the results like on the surface, but then you have a huge day and you're like, wow, okay, that really paid off. So it's about, if you're willing to do the work, if you can be patient. A lot of traders are really impatient and they get distracted really easily. And this is, again, where I have the upper hand because I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not taking drugs, I'm not distracted. I focused my mind, I meditated before I did this live even, because I know that it's really important. And so those are my priorities, and that's one of the main keys for me as a trader. So, okay. I've been learning with a $10 futures account. That's perfect. That's great. I mean, if you can do that and have the patience and be like, okay, what's a 0.5% of that? You know, I mean, 10% is $1. It's like, it's a lot. You're trading with a very small amount to where like emotionally you're still sort of invested in it. Like you don't need to do the paper trading. Just do, $10 or $100 account, because you'll still get the feel of like wins and losses, but it won't be like so much to where you're like, damn, I lost like $500 or $1,000. Like the main mistake that I mean myself and many other traders make is they just start out and they throw in 100,000 or, you know, a couple 100,000 in the account, whatever it is, and it's a lot. It's most of what they have, and then they immediately start trading. You know, like I worry about those people because like I've been there, I've done that, and I had to build back up again over time. You take some big losses early on and then you have to build that back up again, but it does make you wiser because then when you do get to that level again and you exceed that level, then it won't be such a big, you'll have remedied those flaws. Yeah, I mean, patience is a must. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are greedy. It's knowing when to take profit. I mean, these are all things that we go through when we start out as traders. It's like not knowing when to take profits, not knowing when to cut your losses. A lot of traders early on, they cut their losses too soon. They don't let the winners run. And that's just like the knowledge of the charts and how it's moving. That's where that comes in. But as you go, you start learning to take profits, at certain key levels. And that's why I say, okay, here's take profit one, here's take profit two. So when I set up a trade, I'm immediately setting my stop loss. And I'm also setting, most cases, I'm setting some take profits. And some of them are more tentative, but some of them are pretty set in stone. And then if it hits that level, that way I'll at least lock in some. But it is an art, and it's not something that, it's difficult to teach, but the more that you practice it, the easier it gets. Knowing when to move your stop loss, knowing when to take profits. Part of it is intuitive. Part of it is just like being able, familiarizing yourself with the candles, and just kind of like you get that feel. And there's been trades where I've closed out and it did exactly what I thought it would. And that's when you're in the flow. But then you don't get down on yourself if it just keeps going and you lose out on profits. You don't focus on what could have been. The less you focus on what could have been, the better off you'll be. And that's why I said yesterday in my tweet, it's like there's always going to be more waves. You don't the less FOMO you feel, no matter what's happening in the markets, the better trade of a trader you will be. And a good trader never remembers his trades. That's what they say. Is you don't remember. If you remember a trade, it's most likely because it was a really bad trade. Sometimes you'll remember good trades, but most of the trades you remember are really bad trades. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people lost a lot of money. And yeah, the Wyckoff method is the key. I don't think we're in accumulation yet. I don't feel like we've hit that. And I said that in those Wyckoff videos that 12K, 10 to 12K was the accumulation zone. Maybe it's 12 to 15K, somewhere in there, 10 to 15, 12 to 15K for Bitcoin. In that case, Ethereum probably 6 to 800, maybe lower. But Ethereum still hasn't come back down to the range lows here. It hasn't come back down here. It hasn't put in new lows. I mean, we went all the way down to 880 before, coming back up again, but we haven't come down a second time, whereas Bitcoin is already, it's on the brink a second time here of putting in new lows. So a lot of people will use this as an argument to say, I've been seeing this on crypto Twitter, Ethereum is way stronger than Bitcoin. Well, not really. Why? Because I can't even see the price line. We're down 77% for Ethereum. And you've got to zoom out and look. Okay, so yeah, the last couple months, it's seemingly stronger, but we're down 77% for both. So it's not really all that different. It just appears that way. But is there room for Ethereum to fall? Absolutely, especially when we look at ETH BTC, we look at where we are in this range here, and it's struggling. It's definitely struggling. If we drop below this mid-level here, it's all over for the alts. That's for sure. So yeah, don't just pick, I mean, for me, I wouldn't just pick arbitrary levels to DCA. I think DCA, there's a lot of concepts out there, like hodling, for instance. Like, hodling is sort of like, it's a forced phenomena for most people. Most people don't want to hodl. If they knew that 60K, 69K was a top for Bitcoin, they would have sold. But it's just sort of a way, it's like talking yourself out of the pain. Like, I'm a hodler. Okay. And I know hodlers that have insane amounts of Bitcoin. They were mining it like 10 years ago. But they've just been hodling it the whole time. And I'm like, do you have any idea how wealthy you would be if you actually had any sense of technical analysis, like if you sold even just 30% every time it made a new high, like if you just sold like some of it and then bought it back again in times like these, but they don't, they're just like, whatever, they're already rich. But I'm like, well, you, you could be 10, 20 times richer. So hodling is not something I subscribe to. DCA is not something that I'm like, I'm not thrilled about that idea either, because people, they use that as a justification to say, well, I'll just keep buying if it goes lower. Yeah, but it's going to keep going lower. So for me, they asked me what levels would you be buying Ethereum? And I said around 700. That's where I would want to buy. And if I'm wrong and it continues, if it shows signs that it wants to bottom, then I will gladly buy it higher. Who knows? Maybe this is one big accumulation for Ethereum. It could be. If it comes down again and then we get another violent reaction and it pushes back up, then maybe it's an accumulation. But as long as we're not seeing accumulation for Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin is absolutely, this is another leg down. We're in the middle of it right now. So we need to, at the very least, come back up and retest 18,400 for anybody to even consider this as one big accumulation zone. But this looks a lot like 2015 here, okay? Looks a lot like this. And here we just saw this first little move down, but did it come back and retest? No, it made another leg down. And then we saw accumulation, okay? So that's exactly what it looks like we just saw here, okay? So maybe it stumbles around here. I think best case scenario for Bitcoin is that it comes back up to 18.3 and retests the bottom of this range here. But then from there, likely going to fall further. And that's just my 2 cents on it. Yeah, I mean, anybody that's been in this market for more than a year, a couple years, knows that hodling is a faulty strategy. And it's like people like Michael Saylor that, I don't know, he's just crazy. he's just nuts. I mean, they get so, the maxis, they get so zealous about their positions and about being right that they come up with these concepts. Like, I mean, hodling, is it something, this wasn't even like a concept in the stock market, really. Like, it didn't have its own term. At least it wasn't something that people, some people have always just bought and hold. There is always that minority of people. Most people end up buying high and selling low. Some people end up buying low and selling high. It's less people that do that than do the opposite. But if you know TA, once you really hone your skills as a trader, then there's just no sense in holding anything. I mean, that's where the point that I've gotten to is like, I will take some spot positions when the time comes, and I might even do some margin on that, but I'm not attached to it. I could sell at any time. And if we go back and we see, it's rarely ever up only or down only. And we could see a period of several months or years where it's really choppy. And that just seems to mirror what we're seeing in the macro picture with the markets and so much uncertainty. So, I don't know, not a lot of people really remember this period here, but back between May of 2019 and October of 2020, I mean, we were stuck in a range here. And you could say that this COVID here was a deviation from this range, but we were stuck in a range after coming out of this bear market. Okay. There was a clear break in the structure here. Like this was the end of this bear market down here, okay? And now you could have gotten in here and just been a hodler, right? This was an excellent entry, around 5K for Bitcoin. This was an excellent entry, But then if you'd have held it all this time, you would have probably been stopped out, or you would have been underwater for at least some of this time, and you would have been waiting for a while for it just to break out of this range. This was like a year and a half, right? In the meantime, traders are profiting off these moves up and down. Of course, it wasn't easy to trade this, but I would envision that if anything, you know, and of course, I don't think anybody wants to hear this. I don't want to hear it myself, but if anything, maybe we come back down to 12K and then we start to chop in here, and maybe even between 12K and 25K. Maybe we chop in here for a year and a half before we really start to see more upside. But I don't think Bitcoin is going to be putting in new highs anytime soon with this macro climate. And I'm a lot of the bears are, there's not so many outspoken bears. That's not necessarily bearish. That also, I'm also saying, well, we could be closer. We're closer to the bottom than we are to the top. That's for sure. But I'm saying that it's a more neutral perspective. It's more of a range bound environment that we saw back circa 2019. Okay. Buy it while it's cheap. Yeah, buy it while it's cheap, but also don't be attached to it. So if you get it down at 12K and then it comes back up to 15K and it shows some major weakness, maybe you sell it. I don't know. I'm not financial advice. For me, I would, you know, but there is obviously, like, you know, as an example, just even on the short side of this, if you had gotten in, let's say that you saw, okay, dead cat bounce, and you saw it here because why? We had an obvious break in structure here, obvious head and shoulders here, and then a retest. Let's say you shorted it right here. And then, you know, on the first sign of some strength on the daily, a lot of short sellers, it consolidated here. Maybe they took profit somewhere over here and then they missed the next leg down. Whereas somebody that just held that short all the way down would be doing pretty good right now. But that's easier said than done, right? It's like hodling is easier said than done for a lot of people. So I'm just a level to level kind of guy right now. I feel like that's probably the best strategy for me, especially when you more, I think this is going to be repeated on a macro scale for a much longer period of time than we want it to, than any of us want it to. And in the meantime, you become the best trader out there, or one of them. That's how you survive. So, will it come with the halving? It might. I mean, that's been the case so far, right? It might take till sometime in 2024, but I think actually we could see we could see like mini pumps before then and mini dumps too. So I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to look anything like this, and it's probably not going to look anything like this unless we see, of course, I don't have a magic crystal ball, but if you know, if World War III breaks out and there's even more carnage in the markets, maybe that's the plan. I don't know. But there's a whole lot of support down here for Bitcoin. That's what I know for sure. If it breaks down 12K, then we're looking at, that's why I said 10K, probably the bottom here. I think I had around 10K in that video. Yeah, it's March 2024. That's a long time. What price would I spot buy 𝐬𝐭𝐲 at? I have no idea. You know, 𝐬𝐭𝐲's one of those like altcoins that I would buy, but you can't really read the chart the same way. You know, I can't pull it up on TradingView, so I would. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily buy 𝐬𝐭𝐲 based off of when Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, based off of its own price, I would look more like when is Ethereum starting to really come back and show signs of a strong break in strong reversal. then I would be looking to see what 𝐬𝐨𝐲 is doing and seeing if it's breaking above some of these levels here. But 𝐬𝐨's actually been holding up pretty well, considering. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to take some time before I'd be looking to accumulate with altcoins. So optimistically bearish. Yeah, well, yeah, so I think that's all for today. I've been on stream for like over an hour and 15 minutes. So I hope that you all found this helpful. I'm trying to see if this trade is shaping up here. I'm not really seeing anything yet, but a little hopeful here for Ethereum to come back. Again, I don't think it makes sense to short here. I think it's a little too early to long for me. It might need to break above conservative entry. Okay, aggressive entries here. 11:15-ish after a break above shows some strength. Conservative entry above this swing high here. But then there is a lot more upside potential there if it can break through 1170 here. So, I'm looking at Ethereum more so than Bitcoin just because Ethereum, yeah, it's hard to say. Ethereum could find support here relative to Bitcoin as well. So, yeah, this will be interesting couple of hours. Interesting next couple of days here. It looks like Link and Solana maybe are wanting to find support, but they need to push up higher. They need to definitely push up higher. There needs to be some strength. You need to see a momentum candle, right? Like a bigger white candle that is actually breaking above a previous level, breaking above this swing high here with some strength, and then breaks back into the channel with some strength. So there are signs here. It will give the signs if you're patient, you're paying attention. I'm not really sure what 𝐼𝐸 is. Why do I like 𝐬𝐨? I was using 𝐬𝐨 when I covered it in a video a while ago on DeFi Magic, but I was actually using it as a liquidation platform with Luna, and they've since evolved, and they built their own chain, and they're just pretty amazing as far as the development goes, and as far as their like proposed utility. It's like one of the only altcoins that I really feel like I could stand behind that can like actually like generate revenue, kind of like the reason why a lot of the perpetual exchange tokens are getting some traction. It's because it's actually like investors are getting wiser, and they're realizing like it has to be something that's actually able to generate like income, kind of like a normal business. And 𝐬𝐨 can do that. So they've like definitely a lot of developments. They kind of bucked off the whole Luna thing. They pivoted. So I like that. And I just like the team and their professionalism. And I honestly, I haven't checked on them in the last couple of weeks, but so far so good. We'll see. And I'm sure there's going to be several altcoins just sort of appear out of nowhere that 100x, some of them for no reason, but that's how it goes. So I'm not really I haven't really been in the DeFi scene since I kind of came back to really trading full on. When I was in DeFi, I was focused more on making those videos and investing in things that didn't pan out so well. So I came back to my bread and butter, and 𝐸𝐴VAX. I haven't looked at 𝐸𝐴VAX. You know, I told people at night $20. It was funny because there was this whole, everyone got so upset with me when it ran up It ran all the way up to like $20. And I told people at like 19 something, I was like, just so you know, it's going to 10. And they got so mad at me. Look at what it did. It's at 12. Okay. We're close. I don't know. I mean, what do I think AVAX is going to do here? Why did I say $10? What do you see here? I mean, what do you see? And they thought, no way this is going to happen. No way it's going to go to $10. What do you see down here? Support. Major support for AVAX at $10. Okay. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Would I short it here? No, probably not. Again, same reasons as for the other altcoins. Just kind of hang out in space. I want to see it come back up and retest this level here and then show some strength. And then I would consider maybe taking a long up to about 13. Actually, first take profit would be around 1273. That's a flat top there. There's an inefficiency all through here. So I'd be more on the long side with AVAX, but it's not looking good, my friends. I mean, it needs to come push back up above the EMAs. So for Confluence, like this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, okay, it breaks above, shows some strength, breaks above the EMA, the 12 and the 21, or maybe not just, maybe just the 12, hold some strength above this level. That's the most important thing. And then the rest of the market follows suit. Okay. And it doesn't necessarily matter what stocks are doing. It doesn't necessarily matter what the Dixie's doing. If Bitcoin, Ethereum are moving up, AVAX is likely going to follow. We know that. And usually the altcoins that are down, see what happens when Bitcoin starts to really push up again. Like I believe that it will, but see what happens. Because if you look, so this is something that a lot of traders just miss out on. Just look at the candles. Notice, okay, so we see 2 green candles on the 1H. And this one is starting to grow. It's starting to push back up again. Okay, so now what is Ethereum doing? Okay, the last candle was actually bigger. So maybe a little bit more strength. What is Matic doing? I'm comparing the size of the candles. Matic is also pushing up with equal strength to Bitcoin, maybe even a little bit stronger than Bitcoin. Okay. Oh, it's funny. This will be funny. So it's actually pushing back up again. So my initial long, oof, that's a little bugger. You know when that happens? I cut that trade a little bit too early. So anyways, Atom, maybe a little weaker. Okay. Solana looks strong. Looks like it could come back up again, but it's too early. It's too early for Solana. I mean, this would be an aggressive long position for me. So I'm just looking, I'm paying attention to what these charts are doing relative to Bitcoin and Ethereum when I see a stronger move up or down. And that's how I know where to maybe go long or where to maybe go short. But generally speaking, I'm trading in one direction. So I don't usually take a short out if I have a long on another, because as we know, especially when it gets into these, like in a raging bull market, that's not the case. But in the heart of a bear market, usually they kind of move in tandem for the most part. There's always going to be some exceptions to that. FTT dumping their soul. What was the original part of that? Oh, Sol going to 0. No, I don't think Sol's going to go to 0. I think Sol might surprise a lot of people because this is one of those that sold is oversold. Sol is oversold. It's way oversold. It's way oversold. And just because of the association with FTX, that's going to bring it to 0. I don't know. I mean, it could. Anything's possible. We saw Luna go to 0, but that was a whole different mechanism there. Like Solana's a whole blockchain, and yeah, it's definitely had its problems. And Sam definitely glossed over a lot of those problems. But is that the end for Sol? I don't know. I think in the near term, I still think it could bounce really hard here. It may start to move up a lot faster than some of the others. And that's just the way these cycles go, these mini cycles. Again, we saw a huge, I mean, big move down here. You know, logic would have it that there's going to be at least some relief here. At least I think it will at least come back up and retest up here, 1240. But I'm not going to bet on it here because I don't have any indication of that yet in the other charts. Okay, so maybe if it broke above here, but at this point you don't have a long way to go to 1240. So I would want to see it break back inside, and then if it breaks back inside, this is a potentially a really good play. Look at what it did here, but notice these reactions. This time, very strong reaction, another very strong reaction, but then the third time it just broke through and it didn't even come back. So it hasn't come back yet. I would actually be more prone to believe that 𝐸 is going to break to 0 before anything else does. Because it's like it already has 2 strikes. One more strike and you're out, 𝐸. I think 𝐸 could easily go to 0. But I'm not gonna trade this down here. It's too random to me. I mean, it's sort of obeying. You could definitely call this a range here. You could potentially consider a long. After FTT, I made my profits off FTT and I got out. And I don't like to trade when there's a lot of drama or hype, like either or, because it's just creates a lot of frenetic emotions that are reflected in the charts. There are new blockchains. I mean, there's always, it could, Sol could keep dumping. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. So Sol, if you remember correctly, I mean, this is just goes to show you how irrational these markets are, because Sol was it was like, I think it was the top performing, maybe next to Luna, of 2021, maybe 2021. And look at this. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's just going to go to 0 from here. If it drops down, it makes another leg down. I mean, this is a massive head and shoulders that we're looking at. So from that perspective, yeah, it could do a full round trip here. That's pretty mind-blowing, right? I mean, if Bitcoin and Ethereum really get crushed here, then Sol's definitely next. But just look at this on the weekly and look at how big that weekly candle is. Usually when you see any sort of a candle like this, there's going to be a reaction at least to the 25 or 50% level. Okay, and that would put us up at the top of this range here. I mean, I'm just being contrarian here. You don't always want to go, you don't want to go with the crowd ever. And the crowd right now is like, it's going to 0. And that's what they all tell me on Twitter. Maybe, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like, there is support here. This is a demand zone. There is another zone down here, all the way down at almost below $4, but then it would probably hit this first, this level before it came down there. Yeah, so I try not to speculate too much about these things. I mean, of course, as a trader, like, your job is to speculate, but I try not to speculate about too far into the future. I try and just look at what's happening right in front of us right now. And right now we're struggling, but there's something in me saying that we're not going to just crush right through here. My intuition is like, just hold off, don't short this. Another push up would make some sense here. But haven't run these stops yet for Ethereum. So while we have for Bitcoin several times. So don't really know. Just going to wait it out. Just going to wait and see. And you have the setups. I gave you my setups, and I am sharing these in the channel. I really like 𝐸𝐚𝐧𝐭. It's of all the exchanges that I've used, it's my favorite. which says a lot because I've used pretty much every exchange out there. And it's just simple. And it helps that I have an account rep that I can talk to if there's ever a question or an issue. And he's also active in our Discord. And it's just great that I can be free, at least for the time being. And with that said, I do store a good chunk of my funds offline because you don't ever want to have a single point of failure. You don't ever want to trust just one entity, as we've learned the hard way many times. So that's just a little disclaimer. I am going to be covering Keystone Wallet in a video. I'm actually going to try to make that video today and get it out maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. And there's going to be a discount for that. There is a link in the description if you want to get it now, but there's going to be a discount code, and it's a great wallet. Like, it's super easy to use. It's like using your phone. You're just scanning stuff, and it's really simple. And I wish that it had come out sooner. That's the only thing. I wish that it had come out sooner, because with the Ledger Boy, I never liked it. It's just so small. You've got to press multiple buttons to confirm, and sometimes you've got to do it like 10 times. I mean, if you're moving significant funds around, it just doesn't make sense to use a Ledger to me. So I'll be covering that soon. And I'm going to try, if I get some good feedback about these streams, I'm going to maybe continue to do this, because especially in times like this when there's a lot of activity, I think it'll be more helpful. I know if it were me wanting to hear from other traders, I do appreciate the live streams. So I'll consider doing this more, maybe even replacing the old form with this. Just depends. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to try to end this stream now. And I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Stay calm. Stay prosperous. Minimize the damages right now. Try to just stay alive. That's the thing. Just stay alive. No, don't just stay alive. Thrive. Learn to thrive. Thrive in this environment. And then when the bull market comes on, you'll be floating in the clouds. So have a beautiful rest of your day.